Yep. Roll call. Commissioner Jones? Here. Commissioner Simpson?
Here.
Commissioner Caldwell?
Here.
Commissioner Giorgiani?
Yes.
Commissioner Armando?
Here.
Chair?
Yes.
We have a quorum. Pledge of allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Notice of the meeting was given in the following manner. Notice of the meeting was transmitted to the Home News Tribune. Notice of the meeting and a copy of the agenda were filed in the office of City Clerk, City of New Brunswick, on February 19, 2016. And said notice of the meeting and a copy of the agenda were prominently posted on the announcement board in the lobby of City Hall at least 48 hours prior to the convening of this meeting. Right into the resolutions?
Yeah.
Check. Do you want to do a read of it?
We're still waiting for someone
Oh, right.
from Penrose to do here.
Resolution number 1 is a resolution ratifying and approving the payment of bills for the month of December 2015.
Second.
Commissioner Jones?
Yes.
Commissioner Simpson?
Yes.
Commissioner Caldwell?
Yes.
Commissioner Giorgiani?
Yes.
Commissioner Armando?
Yes.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Motion passes 6-0. Resolution 2 is a resolution authorizing and approving the payment of bills for the month of January 2016.
So moved. Second.
I'm sorry, Mr. Call, come on. Chair? Commissioner Jones?
Yes.
Commissioner Simpson?
Yes.
Commissioner Caldwell?
Yes.
Commissioner Giorgiani?
Yes.
Commissioner Armando?
Yes.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Motion 6-0. Resolution 3 is a resolution ratifying and approving the HUD fair market rents for use in the New Brunswick Housing Authority, in the New Brunswick Housing Choice Voucher Program.
So moved.
I'll second. Can you explain?
Sure. Commissioners, HUD issues annual fair market rents on a regional basis and a metropolitan basis. They issue them annually, and they require that housing authorities adopt them for use in their Section 8 program, the Housing Choice Voucher Program. So this is an adoption of those rents that were done, and it ratifies it for the time frame because this was on the January agenda, and we're asking that the board consider the ratification for that time frame so we can implement it as required by HUD. HUD actually has already told us we have to implement it by a certain date. This will allow us to do that if the board moves this forward.
So that's across the board, kind of a federal thing?
It is by bedroom size, a fair market rent maximum. So the rent cannot be over that amount. It can go up to that amount, and it's by bedroom size.
Do we have to go through their income?
No, it's just a general, yeah, it's a HUD issued amount, so it's just basically recognizing the fair market rents.
So when is the next?
They'll do it annually. They
No, I
issue-
mean, when does this become effective?
The effective date would be, Mark, do you know the effective date? Was it? I think it's early January, late December. What HUD will do is, they will issue a notice basically saying it has to be effective this date,
Okay.
realizing that meetings occur after or before. So if the meeting occurred before, you were able to approve it. If it occurred afterwards, you ratify it. But it's a HUD issue. We don't have any, we don't have any determination of what it is. HUD issues it and says you need to adopt this. Well, Commissioner Jones?
Yes.
Commissioner Simpson?
Yes.
Commissioner Caldwell?
Yes.
Commissioner Giorgiani?
Yes.
Commissioner Armando?
Yes.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Motion passes. Resolution number 4 is a resolution ratifying and revising the flat rent schedule for the New Brunswick Public Housing Program.
So moved.
Second.
Commissioner Caldwell, Commissioner Jones seconded?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Explain it?
Similarly, the public housing program has a flat rent requirement that must be a minimum of 80% of the fair market rent. So now that we have the fair market rent amount, this puts the flat rent amount for the public housing program not to exceed the 80% of the FMR. as a minimum. So essentially, that is a flat rental amount that would be implemented for the public housing program as a capped amount for that flat rent. And it is by bedroom size in accordance with the fair market rent amount.
Any other comment? Okay.
I'm sorry. Commissioner Jones?
Yes.
Commissioner Simpson?
Yes.
Commissioner Caldwell?
Yes.
Commissioner Giorgiani?
Yes.
Commissioner Ovando?
Yes.
Chair?
Yes.
Motion passes. Resolution number 5 is a resolution adopting the return state budget for the Housing Authority of the City of New Brunswick and authorizing final signature.
So move.
Second.
As you know, the board is required to submit a budget, which we did. We have finally heard back from the state, who has now asked that we adopt the budget and return it for their final approval, which is what we're doing, essentially.
So it has to go through DCA for approval, is that?
Correct. The DCA approved the initial budget. Now with the adoption, we send it back for the final signature and return.
We did that before.
Correct. Yeah, you took action on it, if you recall, prior to the year end, which they then had us take some more steps and submit some more information. They have now since returned the budget for adoption, and then we are now required to take an action to adopt it, send it back down to the state for their final sign off and return.
Okay, does that revise the budget, once you submit?
HUD does not,
No,
no.
it doesn't, no.
No, this is
Just
specific to the state
Okay.
of New Jersey.
Okay.
The HUD operating subsidy is a separate component. It's not part of the state budget process.
Any other questions?
Commissioner Jones?
Yes.
Commissioner Simpson?
Yes.
Commissioner Caldwell?
Yes.
Commissioner Giorgiani?
Yes.
Commissioner Ovando?
Yes.
Chair?
Yes.
6-0. Resolution number 6, Acting Redevelopment Agency, resolution authorizing execution of First Amendment to Skyline Lease Agreement between the County of Middlesex, a leaseor, and the Housing Authority of the City of New Brunswick as leasee for a portion of the former county administrative building on Block 14, Lot 2 in the Government District Redevelopment Area. You need a motion and second, please.
I'm sorry. So moved. Second.
I'm sorry, who seconded? Chair?
Question on that, John. It says resolution authorizing execution of First Amendment. What is that in terms of?
So I believe we have our special redevelopment counsel here, Yvonne Marcuse, who will go over sort of the outline of the,
Well, 15 years ago, a project was begun to redevelop the former county administration building downtown. And as part of the financing for that project, the County Improvement Authority issued bonds and received a mortgage on the property. But since the property was owned by the county leased the property to the Housing Authority, which was the redevelopment agency. So there was in place a lease, which was more or less a ground lease for the property itself, which would be the subject of this redevelopment project. That lease has been in place for 15 years, more or less. I think it's about 15 years. And now you're being asked to approve an amendment to the lease. This is the first time the lease has been amended, which is why we're calling it the First Amendment. We don't anticipate any additional amendments, but if there were, they would be the Second Amendment or the Third Amendment, and so on. The redeveloper of that project was an entity affiliated with Penrose Properties. We have representatives of Penrose here tonight, Tim Hinkle and his attorney, Yvette Alvarado, who can address questions about the request that Penrose has made for amendment of the lease. It's my understanding that Penrose, I'm calling the redeveloper Penrose, it has another name, which is Skyline something or other, but it's a Penrose-related entity. And it's my understanding that the redeveloper anticipates selling the project, and because the lease has certain terms which are now obsolete, or would be potentially obsolete as part of a transaction to sell the property, they've asked for some revisions to generalize the terms of the lease. The lease names specific lenders who were in the deal 15 years ago, the County Improvement Authority and a private lender, Fleet Bank. Obviously, a buyer in this project would have its own lenders, would be getting its financing in other ways. And the concern was simply that the specificity of this lease might be of a concern to other potential lenders because they are not named in the lease. So the revisions that we're asked to approve have the effect of broadening the terms so that they would apply to other lenders as well as to the original lenders. I have reviewed the lease and the proposed First Amendment. The amendment addresses very few provisions of the original lease and is limited to things that are now not applicable or things that limit the terms to lenders who might not be involved in the future. The notice provisions have been updated. I think everything else that is changing would relate to the upcoming transaction, if there is one. And I would ask one of our Penrose representatives to correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that these changes are being made in advance of the transaction to promote the efficiency of a sale, if there is one. The resolution that approves the amendment does have a provision that the redeveloper will pay our $5,000 supplemental administrative fee for this amendment for our processing and approving paid it. So we have given them 14 days to do that after tonight, and they're way ahead of us on this for once. And we thank you for that. So I can entertain questions or refer them to Penrose, whichever you prefer. If Penrose representatives would like to speak before questions, that would probably also be appropriate. If I've missed something or you want to add anything to what I've said.
Listen, yeah. So there's a couple fun things to talk about. I won't try and take up too much of your time, but probably the most fun thing for me is that I was probably here 15 years ago promoting. Yeah. You look great, Yvonne.
So do you too, except with the gray hair.
Right, exactly. So things change. But we undertook that project 15 years ago as probably one of the most important projects in our company's history, and was very, very, and is very special to us. It was then an asbestos-laden property, the old county administration building, and something that was very much of a problem for the municipality, but the county as well, because the county owned it. And so probably a very innovative, cooperative project that we all should all be proud of. Has, I think, I know from our perspective, been managed very successfully. It's operated very successfully. And it's time for an upgrade, and we've been approached by people who are interested in purchasing it in order to do what's called a kind of a value-add transaction. They will update it mostly from the interior perspective. I don't think there's anything planned or anything proposed from the exterior. And so potential purchasers have looked at the property, looked at the rents that it gets, looked at its existing condition and what you might do to take it to today's standards. And those developers who do that kind of work are different than developers who do the work we do. We're more the guys who take the old county administration building and gut it and turn it into something that's completely repurposed. So the fact that people have shown interest have put us in a position to entertain some of those purchasers. As Yvonne said, we're not there yet, but the fact that potential buyers have taken enough of a look at the underlying documents, we've discovered some things that need to be cleaned up in order to enable potential purchasers to put their own financing on the project. And so yes, a lot of those references to Fleet Bank, I'm not sure if Fleet Bank is financing these kinds of projects at all anymore. But those references potentially can gum up the works of a new transaction. So it's a really simple amendment. I think you've said, Yvonne, and I'll say it maybe in less legal terms, we're not changing anything about the lease that would deal with the intent or operation of the property, which I think is probably an important thing for you guys to hear as a redevelopment authority. So I would hope you view this as an opportunity to facilitate in a very, very small way what you facilitated in a very, very big way a long time ago. A very real and genuine redevelopment project that you could easily argue was the beginning of it all because it predated a lot of the larger buildings. And that maybe is the funny story I'll end with. Skyline Tower, was named Skyline Tower because it was the biggest building in town. So we had the lack of foresight or the bravery to name that building Skyline Tower, and it got topped out by buildings we weren't involved with and buildings we were involved with, and certainly buildings you guys were all involved with afterwards. But that's the building blocks of a redevelopment project, and that's the building blocks of the redevelopment project that is the city of New Brunswick. So thanks for entertaining us. I'm happy to answer any questions you have. Yvette is our attorney, and she'll answer the hard questions if there are any. But again, it's a very, very simple amendment. There's not a lot of exciting stuff to talk about.
It may be a simple amendment, and it was a great project. It was a very daring project. I remember watching, what are they doing with this? But my main concern is, you said it was 15 or 16 years that this lease has been in effect, even though I've only been on the board for about 5 or 6 months. But in starting to learn some of the processes that are going on in New Brunswick. John, is this under any type of government regulations for rents down there? In that particular Skyline building, like some of the other buildings?
You want to?
You talking about rent control?
Yeah.
Are they under rent control down there?
It is registered with the rent control office as a redevelopment project.
Yeah.
It has filed an exemption from the rent control ordinance. So it reports. All the rents are known to the rent control office, but it has an exemption from the rent control ordinance. I'm not sure what the term of that exemption is, but
Well,
that's.
I mean, exemption as far as whether the rent control, but I mean exemption from whether it was designated as a Section 8 or affordable housing. That's my specific question.
Yeah, gotcha, sorry. So it is what we commonly refer to it as an 80-20. 20% of the units are
Yeah,
affordable.
20, I know the basis,
Right,
I'm just
so there
saying
are-
with this project.
Yeah, I got you. I'm
related to that.
headed right to your answers. There's 70 units in the whole building. 14 of those are affordable. Nothing in this lease amendment changes that in any way.
So the amendment,
Won't change it, but will the sale change it? That's my
No.
final question to my
that's a
question.
legal
That's my
question.
final
Again, we're
question.
not-
I'm still going to answer it. Yeah. It's a.
Tim plays an attorney by day, so.
That's right. I just watched the nodding and the shaking. It's
Is it a tax credit for you?
no. The
15 years.
It's 4% tax credit, but it's not the tax credits that would determine the affordability. It's a lot of the other financing sources in
So
there.
the affordability will stay
Affordability.
after they take over with the
Right.
80-20,
For the terms of affordability that were originally agreed to will be maintained.
which might be
So then-
about 30 years, I think.
Chair.
I think it's,
30 or 40?
I think it's,
45?
Right.
They might have been 45.
45.
Yeah.
15 years.
Those run with the property, run with the entity that was formed and don't change.
they're recorded against the property, so
Yeah.
it just runs with the land.
Kind of got the ABC on that, but like I was trying to say, if the sale goes through, pending or whatever words you're saying, does that, the new owner or the purchaser is no longer responsible for affordable housing in the building? That's my final question. That's what I really want answered.
They will be responsible just as we have been.
That will still be
Correct.
maintained
Yes.
under the same auspices?
Yes.
So then I'm for the amendment,
Yeah.
if that's the
And
case.
you should care about that.
Usually have a deed restriction, I think in this case for 45
Well,
years.
what I've been learning since I've been on the board
Yeah.
is that some of the developmental projects in this town, they have a timetable, 15, the one on Somerset Street had 20, and at a certain point, it comes up the question whether it's sold to private enterprises, and does the affordable housing stay in place? That's my point. You know, I know everybody making money, but that's not my point. So I just want to make sure whatever's affordable for the people that's been affordable, that's what I'm looking out for. Everybody else can look out for what they're looking at. That's my question. All right, but if that's the case, then I'm for the amendment.
Any other questions?
Commissioner Jones?
Yes.
Commissioner Simpson?
Yes.
Commissioner Caldwell?
Yes.
Commissioner Giorgiani?
Yes.
Commissioner Revando?
Yes.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Motion passes 6-0.
Now the Charlie Craddock show.
Thank you.
Thank you. Let's go back out to the rain.
Why did you
Hearing none,
Come on, buddy.
Good evening, members of the board. My name is Charlie Cradwell. You know my name, and I do want to let you know that I am recording my remarks and your responses. I also, real quick, before everybody leaves, I just want to ask a couple questions about the most recent resolution. That was a very thorough presentation, and I thank Mr. Henkel for it. Can he say who the tower is going to be sold to, or what their asking price is?
To be clear, it's not under agreement, this is in preparation for potential sale.
And the next question is Penrose also anticipating or looking to sell the George?
We're discussing only
Skyline.
Skyline.
Well, I'm speaking in the public comment section of the meeting, which is about any.
We're discussing only Skyline, so the question should be limited to Skyline.
Okay, so you'll let me get back up for the public comment at the end of the meeting?
Well, this question should be only for Skyline. So do you have any additional question for Skyline?
No, that's the last
Before
one.
they leave.
Are they also
Before they
looking
leave.
to sell their other
No,
major
that-
property that this board
Well,
approved?
this is
They haven't
the
approved-
housing authority as a redevelopment agency. We have not been asked to take any action on the George, other than the certificate of completion that we issued.
Okay, well, while Mr. Henkel's here, for the benefit.
No, but
I'll
Mr.
look at the
Henkel
board.
came in to discuss Skyline, and I can't allow other questions on Penrose side of the process. So,
Okay, I think it is within your power to allow it, but I'll follow up with Mr. Henkel
Yeah,
and talk to him outside of this meeting. Thank you for that. I'll start with the rest of the stuff by saying I'm just.
Before do you have any questions for them before they leave?
No, that's all I have
Okay.
for them. And thank you again. So I am continue to be disappointed by the Housing Authority's response to my public records requests. There is a request that I made on October the 6th, seeking something that should be not very hard to produce, which is just simply the records of the bills that various commissioners and employees of the agencies incur when they go away on trips for, I guess, classes or seminars, conferences, those types of things. That request was made on October 6th, and I still have not received those documents.
You will follow up, the attorney will follow up on that.
Okay, can I hear what the follow-up is on those specific documents, the ones I requested on October 6th?
If I may, as you know, we've responded a number of times with regard to the Oprah request. The latest response, we provided a response earlier today with some additional documents. The Housing Authority continues to work on it, and as we indicated in my email February 11th, we intend to have the remainder of those responses to you shortly. And I believe I put in a specific date in there as well, so.
So the end of the month was the
Yes.
date, so everything by the end of the month.
That's what we're anticipating, and we will respond accordingly.
Mr. Chair, how many years of requests that Mr. Crowderville and New Brunswick today's paper is asking for with these issues? How many years he wants to go back?
Yeah, several requests, maybe.
There's a number of requests. I don't have them all in front of us tonight, but I know
5 years, 10
several
years, 15
go
years?
back a number of years, yes. Yes, several go back, I believe, 10 years.
10 years, yeah.
So it would take some time, correct? But I know we're under state guidelines where we do have to get them that information.
Absolutely, and we have, worked with him in good faith to respond to this, and certainly there's a number of documents that have been asked for, and, and just again, to reiterate to the board, The Housing Authority is extremely limited in its resources as far as staffing is concerned, and it has made every attempt, from our standpoint, from a third-party standpoint, they've made every attempt to make this response, and we've worked with them to do so as diligently as we can.
Now, there is a cost, correct? Mr. Caldwell did bring up a cost for getting all this information to Mr. Cradaville, so that money is coming out of the Housing Authority budget?
Sure, there's a cost. Now, the documents are being provided electronically. Mr. Cradaville's asked for that. So there is a cost as far as time and effort by the staff in order to not only put those documents, some of which are not in electronic format, to put those in electronic format to provide to him, but also in the time in gathering it and going back in storage and gathering that.
So in essence, that money would be taken away from our residents because it's coming out of the budget?
There's a cost in responding. That's what I'll leave it at. There's a cost to the agency in responding, just as in any response.
Thank you. Thank you, and I again offer to work with the Housing Authority to limit the impact of the response. I just, I've never experienced this with any other agency. I've filed hundreds of OPA requests with many organizations, and I've never had such a hard time getting
We
relatively
don't
straightforward.
have any evidence about the other agencies, so it might be the same situation. Okay, go ahead.
So I am concerned about work orders that I've seen. I do want to thank Mr. Clark for taking the time to meet with me in January. He went out of his way to take at least an hour of his time to meet with me. And I told him that I had seen some work orders that were basically people were being double charged for parking tickets. And I believe some of the parking tickets were being issued on city streets, which is beyond the authority of the Housing Authority. And I just wanted to make sure the board was aware of it and see what the plan is for parking enforcement and what happened to the extra money. Tickets are supposed to be $25, but I saw people getting tickets for $50. Where's that money going?
Well, first of all, the $25 or $50, they are looking at it and they're trying to find out whether people have been charged $25 or $50, so they'll follow up.
Thank you. And I'm glad to thank you to.
I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah, just want to thank you to the executive director for stopping that before it got worse. It's really a problem if people, who
No, he's not admitting that he charged $25 or $50. He stopped it because they are investigating. So I don't want to be accurate.
Well, I mean, I've seen it. I've seen the documents. I've seen what
Well,
orders
they're
that
checking.
$50 for one ticket.
Well, that's your side, but he's investigating that, so he cannot say that.
I mean, I have a
Take full
photograph
stop.
of it. If you want to see the photograph of it, the document makes it very
You can
clear. It's
provide-
$50 for a one-time violation.
So you can provide the information to us.
Certainly, thank you, and I want to again thank him for meeting with me. That like we said last time, the day-to-day stuff I can deal with Mr. Clark, and the rest of the stuff I can bring to your attention. Another problem I saw was people are being charged for their light bulbs to be replaced in their kitchens and in their units. I believe $14 is being tacked onto their rent if they need new light bulbs. Is that a normal practice for a
I
housing
think
authority?
he
Is that a
has
best
given you the
practice?
rationale, so he will follow up on that too.
I can speak to him about that, but I will typically say that items that are outside of normal wear and tear, that are damaged, destroyed, broken, or removed, tenants are charged for. But I haven't seen any. I think Charlie had mentioned to me something about that, but again, if he wants to share those items with me, I'd be happy to look into those as well.
Well, it's not that simple of a bulb. I believe a housing authority employee have to go get in a truck, use gas, to go to the store, purchase that bulb, bring that bulb back. So it's not like a $1.50 fix. There's costs built into that bulb. So I suggest to you, Mr. Cradaville, of those folks that's coming to you, they can go to Aldi's to buy a bulb, or they can go anywhere and buy a bulb. It's that simple.
Is that permitted? Are people supposed to be replacing their own bulbs?
Again, items that are outside of the normal wear and tear, we replace. If an item is within wear and tear, we replace it. If it's removed, broken, damaged, and we are asked to replace it, there is a charge, which I believe that Charlie's aware of, and it's posted and the residents are aware of. We do have residents who utilize their own means to replace items if they are broken, damaged, destroyed on their own. But again, we provide those items, and if they are within the normal wear and tear, tenants should not be charged for them unless they are damaged, broken, destroyed, or removed.
Thank you. And so, just to be clear, a light bulb that becomes obsolete because it's been used, that falls under normal wear and tear, right? Not broken.
I think you just explained it.
I'm asking about the specific situation.
Yeah,
Light bulb,
he
does
just
that fall under
explained.
broken? Is it considered broken?
He just
Or is it
explained.
considered,
You just explained it.
he said two different things. I want to know which one the
I'm
light
not
bulb.
going to answer that. You just explained it. This is a comment time. You just gave your comment. Whatever you figure out, you can follow up on.
Okay. I have a question to ask about eligibility for people to live here. If someone were, had a conviction for first-degree crime like robbery, would they be eligible to live here at any point? Or would it matter, how recent that conviction was? What is the Housing Authority's policy on people
You
with
can
those
sit
types
down
of
with
convictions?
John and he can explain the housing authority policy.
That's really, John, those are basically two aspects. I think at the last meeting in December, there was an amendment to I think the lawyer spoke on whether the person had actually went to court on something. I think we talked about that. Then there are some federal guidelines as far as prosecution. But I think, like you said, those are really questions that he can answer and very specific and show they're really not board questions. I'm serious, and I'm very sympathetic and open-minded. I'm an old college student, so I understand, but there's certain, logical processes to that. And I think you gotta get a little more correct on some of your present. Those are things that really don't have to come to the board, really.
Yeah,
I mean,
and-
nothing personal to you, but
But
really,
you have
John
the
can
right
answer
to
those
comment
for
for
you.
you. I mean, we're not saying
Really,
you
know,
should
that's-
not.
that's
And I
really-
thank you for your time.
Yeah.
Like a
and
light
for your
bulb, that's
response.
really, come on, people can buy a bulb, or some people throw their lights on water. I mean, that's really not, you're kind of insulting me a little, and I'm trying to be on your side a little bit.
thank
But
you
you're
for
really
that.
kind of insulting intelligence a little, to me, personally. Because those are things that
Please
can
don't
be
take it
answered
personal.
outside
It's not. It's-
of
none
a
of this
board
is-
meeting, man. Come
it's
on.
personal.
All right, but I'm just saying.
I'm just concerned because, $14 to change somebody's light bulb is a
Yeah, but
burden.
if
especially
somebody
living
keeps
in public
taking your
housing.
bulbs or breaking your bulb, it gets a little, I understand what John and them are saying, there has to be, you know what the real world's like, man. People don't just,
I'm learning.
you know what I'm saying?
Do you have
So-
another
so
comment?
get a little more
Mr.
correct.
Crabville, if
I
I
do,
may,
I-
just with regard to the comments, I mean, again, I would just reiterate that this is a public comments section of the meeting. If you have questions and answers, certainly, any specific questions, those really should be directed at another time. Any comments as far as, indicating, making a comment, hey, someone who had a bill for $14 with regard to a light bulb, you made it to the board and the executive director will look into that. So I think, if we can just issue that as comments going forward and rather than a Q&A, because I think by putting the board on the spot, I don't think that's really what you're looking for. You're looking for an answer.
Correct.
And to get that answer, we're going to have to look into that and get back to you on that. So I think if you can make your comments and then we'll move forward as far as looking into those.
I guess the last thing I need to bring to the board's attention is just that I do have an Oprah request pending. I've requested videos from the authority. I know there's ample security cameras around. Can you tell me, is the agency going to hand over those videos by the end of the month?
I think the attorney has to respond.
We're in the process of looking into that. That was issued separately than the initial Oprah requests that were made, but we will have a response to you shortly on Yes.
Okay, and will the response include the videos, or will the response be denying me access to the videos?
I can't answer that at this point.
It's not there. Okay, I will explain then why I filed a request. I filed a request because I have reason to believe someone is living in, it's either 161 or 165 Wright Place. And
This is, excuse me, one second, this is being recorded, right? What you're talking about right now?
Yeah.
Okay, so saying that you're on record saying that you gave housing numbers of apartments, that you're saying that this is going on? I'm asking you a question.
yeah, yeah, and I'm happy to answer. I mean, I didn't even finish my sentence yet.
No, I'm just asking you and stating to you is that you telling something is happening in certain units, and I just want to make sure to go on record that you are being recorded, and that could be for us, that recording there, just as like the recordings that you would like from us, that if we need that, because if you have stated something incorrectly, I'm asking you a question.
What is the question?
Can we have that video if you stated something wrong about someone else's apartment and things that were going on?
Well,
You made
I mean-
accusation, I'm asking you a question.
Sure, well, to be
Yes,
fair,
you have to word yes or no.
to be fair, I've suggested the board record your meetings.
Doesn't
I'm
make a
recording on my
difference.
phone right
You're
there.
turning, I'm
If you
just
want, if you want a
asking-
copy
no,
of my
I'm asking you
recording.
personally, can we use that recording?
I cannot speak for the gentleman who is
Okay.
there. I can speak
We
to
have-
my
no, we
recording
have
on the
public
cell
time with you.
phone.
When you're done, I will ask
If
him.
my recording turns out
I will ask him. Go ahead with the question.
Okay. So my concern is that someone is not on the
Okay, I have
lease
one question.
and living there. Yeah.
That individual, did he come with you or?
Right.
It's
Is he independent
So
from
you're,
you?
is he independent from you?
he is a human being.
No, no, no,
He's
no,
not-
no,
he's
no,
not
no,
me.
no. I'm not questioning
Is he
that.
recording this on his own, or you asked him to come and record this, yes or no? Excuse me, yes or no?
Listen, I'm not here to answer questions.
Oh, no, you're not, right, that's what I thought.
You can ask him, but you can't answer.
That's
Yeah,
what I want
hey.
to know. I don't know, just
Listen, if you want to
asking.
record your meetings, you can record them. If New Brunswick Today wants to record them,
asking
people can
you.
watch them on
If you want to
newbrunswicktoday.com,
record.
and that includes you. You can go to newbrunswicktoday.com like
So he's
everybody
with
else
you.
in this
So
city.
he's with you.
You can go to newbrunswicktoday.com
So he's
and
here.
watch the video. I don't know why you're so concerned about who's recording you.
No, 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 we're not concerned about that. You
Accusations, and I
made
want to know that I have
accusations that
availability to
there
this.
are people with, you have issues with two apartments. You numbered the apartments.
Charlie, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I just want to make sure I got the numbers, well, you guys discussed.
Sorry.
You said 163 or 165 or 160?
161 or
160, thank you very much.
And so the reason I ask about this is because there's a car that I noticed out front for months. If you can even go on Google Maps
No, no, that's
and
not
look at the car.
That's not our question.
And-
Our question is, you say that somebody who is living in 163 or 161 illegally is parking outside, okay?
I said, I
So
have
in
reason to
case-
believe. I cannot prove it
So-
as a fact.
Okay.
If I did, I would present the information, but I'm
But
giving
his
you as much
question is-
information as I have.
His question is, if somebody comes back to us and said, I was accused by such and such person, okay, that I parked my car illegally, can we get that can we get the recording? Because you said it.
So I'm not going to promise to give anything to the housing authority.
But this is public information. We're a public entity. With that, we should have as much right to your recording as you have. So why, Charlie, are
Just
you
as
not
like
going to allow us to
Google
have
Maps.
that?
I didn't say I was not going to allow you to have it. I
Will
said
you allow us to have
speak.
that?
I can't speak for the
You
gentleman.
asked him to come here.
I can't speak for him though, can I?
Yeah, but you
I can't-
obviously have
I
a
can't
relationship
say-
with
I
Charlie.
can't say
Can you
that
ask
his
him
video is
now?
going to turn out.
State your reason, and I'm going to ask him personally for it. So I hope he doesn't run out by the time you're done. Go ahead.
What do you have to
Okay,
hide,
question,
guys?
sir.
What do you hide?
What do you have to hide? We want a copy
We
of
have
You
a
want a
it.
video of a meeting you were in?
You didn't because of what you're saying.
That's still on.
No, it's still on.
Charlie, come back to order,
So,
Charlie.
sir,
Yes.
Come back to order,
did you come
Charlie.
with him or are you working independently?
I
He has not asked to
I'm
speak
asking-
publicly. This is my time to speak. I'm making my public comments.
No, no.
And you guys are flipping it.
I'm the chairperson.
Charlie,
I'm the
get out of order,
chairperson.
Charlie.
No,
This is not your
He's
lead.
flipping
I'm
out.
the chairperson, so I can, I have the right to ask questions, okay? So what I'm asking is he with you or not? Sir?
I am a local filmmaker,
Okay,
and I will be providing this film to Charlie in New Brunswick Today to put
Okay.
on their YouTube channel,
Okay.
and it will be publicly available.
Okay, very good.
Okay.
Is it for-
Were you invited by him, or you just came by yourself?
I'm a local filmmaker, and I know Charlie, and I came to this meeting. It's public, and I would like to film
And I
this.
think it's a bad precedent.
He's given me the opportunity to distribute it through his channels.
Not to
You
speak.
just said you're not going to provide us with the information. After you're asking us to provide you with so much information, now all of a sudden, when we said if we need this information for our own reasons,
What
are you going to
reason do you
say?
need?
No, I'm not going to answer.
Not to interrupt.
I'm just
sorry.
asking, I just asked.
It will
you
be
that
publicly
question, and
available.
You said you're not going to provide us. So,
I said I can't speak for the gentleman there. I offered to provide you the
Okay.
recording. I'm recording on my cellular phone tonight.
Okay, so-
So, I have nothing to hide, but.
no, we don't. We don't.
Okay,
Okay.
okay. So this is a public meeting, and, you know, people are free to come and people are free to record it, whether, you know.
Is there time for public section?
Okay.
Okay, so-
Last comment?
Try enforcing that time,
Yeah,
it
okay.
take longer than.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Question
Okay.
that-
Last comment.
So I've requested these videos for the simple reason that
Mm-hmm.
on, I guess, whatever day it was, I told John Clark about the vehicle.
You asked, you didn't tell. You asked John Clark.
Please, stop interrupting me. I'm in the middle of a sentence, sir.
No, you don't.
And this is a public comment. I'm allowed to
No,
comment.
no, no, you
So
don't tell John, you ask John.
I informed Mr. Clark
Okay,
that there was a
all right. Don't
vehicle
get upset
out
with
front.
me.
I didn't ask him anything. I informed him.
I'm just correcting you, you don't tell John, you ask John or you inform John.
I believe you must not know the definition
Okay, very
of
good.
tell
Okay.
or to talk,
Okay.
because I did tell Mr. Clark that there was a vehicle
Don't get upset.
parked
Don't
illegally.
get upset with me. Okay, go ahead.
I told Mr. Clark there'd been a vehicle parked for months
Okay.
out front of this building.
Okay?
And I said that I had reason to believe
Mhm.
that it was someone who was living in the complex, off the books, not allowed to be here. And I presented that information to him, and lo and behold, the next morning, the car had been moved.
Mhm.
And so I've asked for the Housing Authority to provide the security camera footage, which would show who moved that car, and where they came from, and where they went to after the car was moved.
Okay.
And that would actually be a big clue in this whole thing that I've been told the Housing Authority is looking into.
That's
So I think that the board should grant my OPA request, but even before you do, the board should take a look at that video too. And you should examine that
I have
video.
your email, and our attorney is following up on that. Do you have another comment? Your last comment before I
Yes.
adjourn? Okay.
My last comment is that I also indicated that, you know, the person in question is a relative of an employee of this agency, the property manager, and I just want to ask, has anybody looked into that? Has the property manager been, you know, questioned about this?
If you have asked the attorney, he will respond to you.
I'm asking presently, and it's up to
Okay, so.
Who
no
is this
follow-up
person,
on
Charlie, and who do you think that's living here? And what's that person's name, since you know the car, you know the license plate?
I've provided the information to the authority, I've provided it.
that. Okay.
Can you provide it to us here?
You can ask Mr. Clark for it.
No, but no, I'm asking you. You said, you made a statement. Could you provide that information to us?
I'd be happy to, I mean.
Right now,
the
on
agency
camera, on
already has
camera,
it.
would you provide it on camera for us?
I'm not sure what.
The
what you
names
want me to
and
do.
particular names that you were just asked from.
No, actually, I prefer to use some discretion. Mr. Clark has the information, and he can look into it. And he,
But
you can ask him for it, or you can ask me for it off camera.
Some things on camera and other things not. Why don't you hold yourself to the same level of accountability that you try to hold other people to?
I explained that I wanted to use some discretion. I'm happy to tell you after the meeting.
No, on camera. You're asking us to be public on camera, Charlie, and what I'm asking you is to be public on camera as well, when you're on camera. I asked you to name names. See, you come here and accusing people behind the scenes and the innuendo and saying that someone's doing something. Why don't you be public so that this is on public TV? That Charlie Cradville is accusing particular people of certain things. You hide behind this all the time. Why don't you come out and be very honest and actually make a statement?
I made a statement.
No, on camera.
And
On camera, my friend.
I provided the information to Mr. Clark.
But you're too scared to do it on camera. Enough said. You want other people to be on camera, but Charlie Cradville doesn't want to be on camera. Well, no, to make a statement. You make a lot of accusations behind the scenes, my friend. You ask a lot of people to do a lot of work that impacts the quality of public service to people. When you require hours of documentation for people to come up, the city council, the housing authority, the Board of Education, you are doing a disservice to the public. You're doing a disservice to the public. And right now, I'm asking you to be public about some of your accusations. And you're not willing to do that on camera.
Specifically because I am seeking confirmation of the allegations. If the Housing Authority provides the surveillance information, the surveillance video, then I will tell you my findings.
But
the Housing Authority is not in a position to question me or yell at me or bully me around because I am
You're in a
trying to
position to
provide
bully us, to question
information.
us and bully us. You think that you can come and bully people. And you've put stuff on the internet about me that really is just inappropriate and incorrect and wrong. And it stays on the internet.
What would that be? Let me just say this.
And
We care
you
very
should be
much.
held accountable about that.
New Brunswick Today cares very much about being accurate.
Can I make a motion? We
And-
have
no,
I want to hear this, I want to hear
This
this.
is going
Public
out.
session is over.
I believe somebody wants to continue.
No,
No, we don't want to.
I don't want to.
No, I think this.
Okay, we
That-
care
that
about
was-
this. If there's anything inaccurate, tell us, we will change it. That's our
It's on the
policy.
internet already.
Tell us, if you want to make vague accusations, go ahead. If you want to make a specific allegation and say this was wrong on this date, we'll change it. If you're right. But you can't just say, you put stuff on the internet that's wrong without saying what it is.
But you're
I'm
saying
giving you
you're-
at least apartment numbers here.
No, Charlie,
Yes.
you're saying the same thing now, and you don't want to be on camera. You know, you don't want to say the name, you don't want to divulge certain information, but you're putting somebody's name without clarifying, without any clarification.
No, actually, that's what you're trying to get me to do. You're trying to get me to say the name. And I'm saying, I want to confirm it first. I'm concerned with accuracy.
Mr. Credibill, thank you for your comment.
Thank you for your cooperation.
Thank you. I don't, also because I don't trust you. That's why.
We don't trust
It
you.
doesn't matter.
Yeah, but
Doesn't matter. But
It's true. I don't.
It seems like it's a war issue.
That's why you're here.
So
Make a motion.
Chair? Chair, roll call.
roll call?
Commissioner Jones?
Yes.
Commissioner Simpson?
Yes.
Commissioner Caldwell?
Yes.
Commissioner Giorgiani?
Yes.
Commissioner Rondo?
Yes.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Motion 6-0. Chair, I need you for 2 minutes.
Okay. Thank you.